Hi, good afternoon, everybody. This is Jill Trotterman with Feeding the Family. Today, we're going to be talking about mushrooms. Can the art of mycology be the catalyst to living a healthier, more vibrant life? The study of fungi, a group that includes mushrooms and yeasts, have been part of human history in art, in lore, in food, and in medicine for our whole entire recorded history. But today, we can now verify scientifically through studies and research what our ancestors have known all along, that mushrooms are super cool. They live in the dark recess of the woods and seem so magical. So today, we're going to dive in to this magical world with an expert who is very passionate about this topic, and her name is Dr. Anna Sitkoff. So Dr. Anna Sitkoff is a licensed naturopathic doctor and medicinal mushroom expert with over a decade of experience, specializing in natural therapies that blend clinical practice with research. As co-founder and chief science officer of Lucidum Medicinals, she formulates evidence-based mushroom supplements that support immune, lung, and nervous system health. Widely recognized for her expertise in functional medicine and women's health, Anna educates practitioners and the public on the therapeutic power of mushrooms. Her experience as a new mother has deepened her focus on postpartum health, driving her mission to provide effective, science-backed natural solutions. Right on. Well, welcome, Dr. Sitkoff.
Hi, Jill. Thank you so much for having me.
You are so welcome. I'm really excited to be talking to you today. So on your website, you say, spend time on what matters, taking care of ourselves, our family, and our communities. And the best way we can do that is by paying attention to what we eat and how we live. And so we know that mushrooms are so amazing. So how did you get so excited about the world of medicinal mushrooms?
Well, I had been excited about natural medicine for as long as I can remember. It was really a part of my childhood growing up, something that my parents always took part in. And I was seeing an acupuncturist when I was 13. And then my father came down with chronic lymphocytic leukemia, and he was seeing a Chinese medical doctor alongside his regular oncologist, and the Chinese medical doctor prescribed a medicinal mushroom blend. And at that time, I had been studying herbalism, I had been studying nutrition, and I knew kind of the bare bones basics of mushrooms. But that kind of experience with my dad really got me way more interested than I ever had been before. And I just dove into all things mycology. I really got interested in not only, the use of mushrooms for adjunctive cancer therapy. They play a huge role there. But I became interested in how mushrooms impact our health just in so many other ways. And they're important even if you don't have cancer, especially if you don't have cancer. And for preventative medicine, I think that they're a really vital part of any diet for preventative medicine. And so now as a naturopathic doctor, I get to talk to my patients about mushrooms all the time, and I get to prescribe mushrooms, which is the dream.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, that is really cool. And it's often the case where we might peripherally know about something, but then it takes a personal catalyst, like working with your dad, that really brought you into that world a little bit deeper.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. And I think having an emotional connection to something too, just like, such a great drive for passion.
Right. And I think a lot of people, I know they're so medicinal, and I want to definitely get into that in a minute, but I think a lot of people start their experience, like when they think about mushrooms, it comes in the form of food.
Yes.
Maybe sometimes people think of the magical mushrooms, the Amarita one with the red and the white polka dots.
Yeah, the Amanita.
Amanita.
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So people have that association, but I think people love eating mushrooms. So can we start there in the
Yes.
kitchen with mushrooms?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I always think of mushrooms as there's like a triple Venn diagram. There's the edible mushrooms, the medicinal mushrooms, and the toxic mushrooms.
Okay.
And then there is overlap in all of those areas. So, yeah, let's start with the edible medicinals. So, these are going to be foods that you can find at the farmer's market, you can find at the grocery store, um, and they're still going to have the same kind of medicinal quality as something that like reishi or turkey tail that we'll get into later that are too woody to eat, so they're not considered edible, but they're
Oh,
not toxic,
okay.
and
So
they're
so
yeah,
structurally that's why they're not edible because
yes,
they're too
exactly.
okay, so they're more something like decocted. So what are
Yeah,
some really fun culinary mushrooms like
yeah,
shiitake and
yeah. Yeah. So maitake is a big one, Griffalo frondosa, or hen of the woods. So maitake, I mean, I think it's really delicious. You can just saute it with any of these mushrooms. You really want to cook them really well to make their medicinal compounds more bioavailable. Um, Maitake is immune modulating, and so it has both an anti-inflammatory effect, while it can also have an immune stimulating effect. And that's kind of true for most mushrooms, is that they're considered amphoteric, where they kind of have a dual action. Maitake is also really high in an amino acid called ergothioneine, which is a really important antioxidant that we will definitely get into more details about ergothioneine as we continue this discussion. And then maitake is really amazing for blood sugar regulation. So there's great research specifically with maitake in women with PCOS and helping to restore normal ovulatory cycles via improving insulin resistance. And
that's amazing.
maitake,
Just like that's just fantastic. So I'm just laughing in my head here that people are just
yeah,
eating all of these foods and they don't may not realize they're getting all of these amazing health benefits while they're eating them.
yes,
More than
yeah.
just like some B vitamins and some carbohydrates or proteins.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, especially this is so true with mushrooms. It's like, yeah, they've got some protein, they've got some vitamin D2, and they've got zinc and B vitamins, but they really have these really strong medicinal compounds, primarily polysaccharides, ergothioneine, and triterpenoids are kind of like the main medicinal compounds that most mushrooms contain, and all of those have a really great impact on human physiology.
That is so cool. And what about mushrooms like shiitake and portobellos that you might find really common
Yeah,
in restaurants?
yeah. So shiitake is an amazing immune stimulator. So it can help to increase natural killer cells and cytotoxic T cells, these important parts of your immune system that are your body's main defense against viruses and tumors. Um, Shiitake also does have some anti-inflammatory activity, but yeah, it's definitely kind of, if you're trying to avoid getting sick, eating shiitake mushrooms on a regular basis is going to be very helpful. Um, and then plus that shiitake mushrooms are delicious. One thing about shiitake is that about 10% of the population gets something called shiitake dermatitis if you eat them raw.
Hmm.
So that's going to be like a inflammatory skin reaction from eating raw mushrooms, specifically raw shiitake. So
Hmm.
always cook your shiitake mushrooms, and generally just always cook your mushrooms.
Interesting.
Um,
Okay. But people put raw mushrooms on salads. Is that like those very common button ones?
yeah, and you're really not going to get a lot of benefit from putting raw mushrooms on your salad.
Okay.
Basically, what you're getting is the fiber, which of course, fiber is good. It's going to have some support for the gut microbiome, but a lot of the medicinal compounds, the polysaccharides that we want to extract from the mushroom cell wall, it it needs to be cooked.
Huh.
Plus that cooked mushrooms just taste better.
I love that is fantastic. I'm really happy to know that. I didn't know that part before. All right, so cooked mushrooms is a way to go, people.
Yes.
And that's going to
Yeah.
bring out, like a lot of other foods also like to be cooked to
Yeah.
release nutrients and make them more bioavailable.
Yes, exactly. Another one of my favorite edible medicinals is oyster mushroom, and this includes king oyster and golden oyster. Most people can find oyster mushrooms at their grocery store or at their farmer's market. Oyster mushroom has the highest amount of that amino acid ergothioneine that I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And ergothioneine, I cannot put enough emphasis on how important this amino acid is to human health. We have specific transporters for ergothioneine on our blood-brain barrier, especially in cells and tissues that are prone to oxidative stress. So think like the testes, ovaries, placenta. Ergothioneine it's almost 100% bioavailable. So when you test mushrooms for their content of ergothioneine and then people eat the mushrooms and then you test the ergothioneine in the bloodstream of those people, almost 100% of that ergothioneine is absorbed. And it acts as like a backup system to glutathione. Glutathione is one of our body's main antioxidant defenses, and it can become depleted. And so ergothioneine, once it's taken up into the cell, it can stay there for up to a month. And so it's this amazing backup system to glutathione and can really help to combat oxidative stress.
Excellent. Ah, that's so brilliant. I love it. So just cooking with mushrooms in and of itself already seems like a winning strategy
Yes.
to improve people's health.
Yes. And one other thing about ergothioneine is that the more mushrooms you eat, the more of those ergothioneine transporters you have. And there is a direct relationship between ergothioneine transporters and neurocognitive decline, that people who have less of those transporters, and so people who eat less mushrooms, tend to be more at risk of neurocognitive decline and conditions like Alzheimer's, dementia, etc.
Oh, no, well, Dr. Sitkoff and I had a little chat before our talk today, and I confessed to her something. My family and friends know this, but I have a little mushroom aversion. And I don't even know why. I like the taste. I think they're the coolest things. So I think I'm going to have to do some tapping exercises to rewire my brain patterns so I can really enjoy mushrooms. Or maybe I'll just cook with them and chop them up into small pieces.
Yeah.
Because now I feel like I'm really missing out on the whole mushroom family.
Yeah. I mean, and if...
Am I the only one out there?
I have plenty of patients who, I tell them to eat mushrooms and they're like, can I please take a supplement? And that's why supplements exist, right?
Right.
It's to supplement parts of your diet that are not present. And so if you can't eat the mushrooms, then you can supplement with the mushrooms.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Okay, this is great. I'm so excited. So keep going on for...
so back to oyster mushroom, because I just think it's great and it's very available for most people. So
the ergothioneine is what we're talking about.
Yeah, so very high in ergothioneine. And then oyster mushroom is also really high in this polysaccharide, or this sugar molecule called pleurin. And there's a lot of research with this compound pleurin showing that it can help to prevent respiratory illness in kids. So there's some really cool research showing that when kids are given this syrup with pleurin, so it's basically like an oyster mushroom syrup that also has like some vitamin C and honey in it, that there were way less missed school days, and that the respiratory infections that were also triggered by chronic allergies, they are just lessened significantly. So part of that mechanism of oyster mushroom being helpful for preventing respiratory illness is that it does also have some anti-allergic properties.
Super. So all these traditional diets have medicinal mushroom or regular mushrooms in their diets, right? Like the Japanese, Chinese, I'm sure African countries Mexico, right? Cultures around the world eat mushrooms.
Yeah, and I think that in the United States, we're like just getting past our mycophobia and into this kind of mush boom of more interesting mushroom genus and species, and out of the just like raw white button world.
Yeah, I think that's probably what people think of when they think of mushrooms. They think of the little white ones that are in salads.
Yeah, yeah, I
But
think,
there's so
yeah.
much more, and there's tens of thousands of species, I think, of mushrooms, right?
Oh, yes. And
Right.
there's so many that we don't even know about.
Can you overeat in culinary dishes too many mushrooms? Aside from folks that have the shiitake dermatitis association? Or can you eat it like
So,
every day, like in soup and in.
yeah, you can eat mushrooms every day.
Okay.
There's some cases where of people where they ate like a ton of mushrooms at one time, and because it's difficult to digest the chitin, which is part of the cell wall of the mushrooms.
Okay.
And chitin is a really hard substance. It's one of the hardest substances around. It's like what crustacean shells are made of and
Hmm.
insect exoskeletons. And so that
Mm.
is also a very important part of the mushroom cell wall. And humans, we make some chitinase, which is the enzyme to break down chitin. We make some in our digestive juices,
Mm-hmm.
and then some of our immune cells make chitinase. But not everybody makes that enzyme. And even if we do, we don't make a ton of it. So if you eat a lot of mushrooms at one time, in certain cases, you can actually end up with like it's like a fibrous clog in your digestive system.
Okay.
And there
Everyone's
are,
imagining what that feels like, so
yeah, and there
doesn't
are
sound
case
good.
studies of that happening. So it's like, yeah, eat mushrooms and everything in moderation. Like I wouldn't just eat mushrooms all the time and only mushrooms.
Right. Well, people go on those crazy diet fads like celery for days on end. And no, don't eat celery all day, every day. People get very
Yeah.
extreme. So just moderation. Um, and then,
Moderation, and like chew your mushrooms well too. I think in a lot of
okay.
those cases, people were just like not really chewing their mushrooms very well.
Yeah, like all food, it's better, easier for
Yeah.
the digestive system, and the pancreas doesn't have to work so hard.
Yes. Yes.
And then what about coffee mushroom? Is that a thing?
Great question.
Okay.
Yes, this is, I mean, the fad of the decade
Oh,
is mushroom
okay.
coffee, and I think, like you, a lot of people have mushroom aversion. And so, a good way for them to get their mushrooms is in a powdered form and in their coffee. I mean, coffee is pretty bitter, anyways. And so, adding mushrooms may or may not change the flavor very much. I think that, yeah, I have a few thoughts about this. So, my first thought is that getting mushrooms into you anyway is good. So, if that's the only way you're going to do it, then get your mushrooms in that way. My other thought is that a lot of the mushroom coffees don't actually have like a therapeutic amount of mushroom in them. So,
Mm-hmm.
for example, if you are wanting to take maitake for PCOS to help with ovulation, um, and maitake is in your coffee, the likelihood of there being like 1.5 grams of maitake in there as a therapeutic dose is like pretty low. And even then, like maybe there's 2 grams total of a mushroom combination, but you're not actually getting a therapeutic dose of any individual mushroom. So in that respect, I think it might be kind of a waste. Like you're not really gonna benefit from a really small amount of mushrooms. There's this interesting study that I found recently, actually, that was looking at how adding mushrooms to coffee changed the chemistry of the coffee itself. And what was interesting about it was that when you add mushrooms to coffee, it actually decreases the caffeine content of
Hmm.
the coffee. But there is, of course, like an increase in the antioxidant content. So, there's some benefit there. What I'm curious about though is how is adding mushrooms to your coffee impacting the medicinal value of the mushrooms themselves? It's like, I don't really care about what's happening to the caffeine
For
content in
sure,
coffee,
right? Is
but
it?
like what's happening to the medicinal polysaccharides in the mushrooms?
Mm-hmm.
And for the most part, those compounds are going to be unchanged by heat. And so I'm not so worried about that. I mean, even like those compounds make it through your entire digestive tract unchanged until they get to the colon, which is amazing. So they can withstand a lot of different stressors.
Yeah, all the hydrochloric acid that it has to pass
Yeah.
through.
Yeah. So that doesn't even mess with the beta glucans or those polysaccharides. And so one thing that can happen though is when you're blending your coffee, which a lot of people do, you're blending the coffee with the polysaccharides, the tannins in the coffee can actually form complexes with those polysaccharides, and that changes the molecule.
Hmm.
And then that molecule is going to act differently in the body, and it's not going to have the same impact on the immune system. So if
Interesting.
you're adding your mushrooms to your coffee, my advice is to just not blend it to just
Okay.
avoid that risk of those new complexes forming.
It sounds like some research needs to get done on this, Dr. Sitkoff.
Yes. Yep. Will it be me? Probably not.
Maybe.
But it would be fun.
People like to experiment with their substances, I guess you could say. Well, folks, we're not going to be talking about that kind of mushroom today. That might be another conversation. But mushrooms are hallucinogenic also. Some are.
Yep. And that fits into the medicinal / toxic part of the Venn diagram.
It does, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if we want to segue into that. I wasn't planning on talking about that, but is there something you want to share about that part? Like the health benefits of...
Yeah, I mean, so a lot of the psychedelic mushrooms that people are familiar with are psilocybe species, mostly Psilocybe cubensis, or here in the Pacific Northwest, we have a lot of Psilocybe cyanescens.
Okay, would that be like psilocybin? Is that
psilocybin is actually a compound in the psilocybe mushrooms.
Okay.
Psilocybin itself is not a mushroom. It's just a constituent. It's a compound.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So like the active compounds in the psychedelic mushrooms, the psilocybe mushrooms, are mostly psilocin and psilocybin. But anyway, those mushrooms I think play a very, very important role for a lot of things. I mean, right now, especially in mental health care, I think that people can probably benefit greatly. And I look forward to kind of seeing what happens as they become legal and there's more research. And there's some really interesting research on using psilocybe mushrooms for cluster headaches as well. And for end-of-life cares, for kind of coming to terms with your own dying experience.
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, as far as medicinal mushrooms go, like the psilocybe mushrooms are amazing.
Right. So they are part of that category of healing, psychedelics, even though they have maybe a bad rap in some communities, but they are now here in California. I think they are legal.
Yeah, I believe they're decriminalized.
Or decriminalized. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have to wonder why they were even criminalized in the first place, but we won't talk about that either. But because they're so medicinal and they're easily accessible, and if they can help so many people, why not?
Yeah. And hopefully in our lifetime, there will be some big changes that happen there.
That is huge, because that is part of what your work is, I do believe. Working with mental health and...
Yeah, I mean, everything. I mean, I'm a primary care doctor, and so I see anything and everything that comes in my door, and mental health is just a part of being human, I think.
Right.
And and especially just with how the world is today, and I mean, at every time in history, I'm sure people said that, but I think mushrooms can be really helpful. Every kind of mushroom.
They're like the helping plant of the helping fungi. And listen, we're going to take a short commercial break right now at this junction. And we are talking to Dr. Anna Sitkoff about medicinal mushrooms. And when we come back, I want to dive a little bit more into the medicinal part and dabble into fertility, supporting women's health, sperm production, and all that kind of fun stuff. How does that sound?
Yeah, looking forward to it.
All right, so hold on tight, folks. We'll be right back. Okay, folks, welcome back to Feeding the Family. I'm your host, Jill Trotterman, and with me today we have Dr. Anna Sitkoff, and we are talking about medicinal mushrooms. And this is a very exciting conversation. So let's dive in a little bit more into the medicinal aspects regarding reproduction and supporting women's health.
Great. Yeah, I think a good place to start is with the gut microbiome.
Okay.
Because a healthy gut microbiome plays a critical role in hormone metabolism and regulation. So that includes sex hormones and thyroid, which are, thyroid hormone regulation is very important for fertility. And this is also going to be important for, immune modulation, nutrient absorption, and then, of course, reproductive health. So the dysbiosis or imbalanced gut flora has been linked to PCOS, endometriosis, poor semen quality, and ovary health. As we discussed previously, so mushrooms have these polysaccharides, and then they also have chitin. These are both prebiotics, which are going to be feeding your good gut bacteria. When that good gut bacteria ferments the polysaccharides and chitin from the mushrooms, there's going to be these postbiotics, short chain fatty acids like butyrate, which are essential for your gut barrier integrity. The healthier your digestive tract is, the healthier your whole being will be. The more vital you are and the more fertile you are, basically.
Yeah, and thanks for sharing that about the gut health.
Oh, I was just going to say that there's a gut ovary axis and a gut testes axis, or you could just say like a gut gonad axis generally. And there's a lot of really interesting research in this realm of how your intestinal microbiome and balanced gut flora plays such a big role in sperm quality and ovary health. And eating mushrooms just eating mushrooms on a daily basis can be helpful if you don't like them. If you don't want to eat the mushrooms, even just taking, mushrooms as like mushroom powdered extracts in a capsule, like you're going to get those benefits for your gut microbiome. So, just eating oyster mushroom, maitake, lion's mane, which most people think of lion's mane for, nervous system health, but plays a really big role in decreasing intestinal inflammation and feeding the good gut microbes and improving digestive health generally.
Yeah, and so you're saying that there's an axis between the microbiome and ovaries and the testes. So they're communicating with each other.
They're communicating with each other. And also for optimal fertility, it's really important to have a healthy vaginal microbiome. And mushrooms, even just consuming them orally, can really help. There's also some different kinds of like vaginal gels that are mushroom based, like with turkey tail, that help to decrease HPV and increase good bacteria like lactobacillus that we want.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you want that environment to be pretty much lactobacillus. That's all, right? And acidic.
Yes. Yeah. Right. And so, and
you don't want a lot of action going on down there.
You don't want a lot of action. Yeah.
So the mushrooms will help modulate bacteria that might overpopulate.
Yes. And then they can also decrease viruses like HPV.
Right.
That can be playing a negative role in infertility.
So that would be turkey tail.
Yes, turkey tail. Yeah, decreasing viral load generally, and I've had a lot of really great success with my patients using turkey tail, maitake, and reishi for helping to regulate the vaginal microbiome, and just taking it orally, not even have to take it intravaginally.
Right. Yeah, and there's so many people that really rely right now on complementary medicine, like what you're doing. Maybe they're not getting the help they need with the allopathic docs. Not, there's no diss on that, but I'm just saying so many people want to get to the root cause right now of their symptoms, and I think it's so fabulous that we could use mushrooms, which is relatively a benign substance.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's, various contraindications that we can get into at some point. But yeah, for the most part, mushrooms are just generally very safe.
Nice. And what about, I've been hearing something about these reishi babies. Reishi babies.
Yeah, the reishi babies. So
Like, that's funny. Can you share with our audience?
Yeah, I have a reishi baby.
You do? That's amazing. Okay, I'm a little bit older. My kids are in their 20s and 30s, so I completely missed out on this whole cool thing. I want to go back in time. I want to have my babies be a reishi baby. Tell us, what is a reishi baby?
Yeah, the theory of a reishi baby is that if you drink reishi tea throughout your pregnancy, then your baby will be calm and less reactive.
Okay.
Just like a little Buddha baby.
Who doesn't want that?
I know. Yeah. And then, I mean, reishi mushroom, this is a good segue to just talk about reishi for a minute here, because I think another really important aspect of fertility is like, if you are stressed, if your body thinks that you're running from a bear, it is not going to ovulate.
Right.
Like, it's not going to want to get pregnant. And so anything that's going to kind of help to regulate the nervous system will help with ovulation. And reishi mushroom is this amazing adaptogen where it helps your body to adapt to stress in the environment. So it can help to regulate morning cortisol levels, and then it also really helps with sleep and just general like nervous system support. Mushrooms as a whole are very grounding in nature. But reishi especially, I mean, it's a very woody polypore mushroom and just has a very grounding kind of energy, and it has that same impact on the nervous system. And so I think through, helping to regulate the mother's nervous system as she goes through her pregnancy, that in turn, develops the baby's nervous system into being a little bit more stable, because stress while you're pregnant can have a big impact on the little baby.
It really can. So I'm just thinking that the cortisol levels are lower, less inflammation, so the baby can relax in the womb and not be overstimulated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and reishi also increases T regulatory cells, and so it helps to dampen like an autoimmune responses and inflammatory responses overall.
Okay, that's good to know too.
Yeah, because and that, when it comes to fertility, it's like things like Hashimoto's thyroiditis and autoimmune oophoreitis, so autoimmune diseases of the ovaries, like anything that's helping to kind of calm the immune system in those cases can be really helpful.
And then when the baby is born, can the mom continue drinking the tea and it will pass through the breast milk to the baby, to the infant?
Yeah. So the medicinal compounds from mushrooms don't necessarily pass through the breast milk in large amounts. They can actually help with milk production. So beta glucans, which is the kind of polysaccharides, one of the kinds of polysaccharides that mushrooms have, that can help with milk production, but the baby's not going to be getting a whole lot of it.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
Yeah, just the way the molecule is. Just
It must be some protective thing in our genetics, I wonder,
Yeah, I mean, it's also that I think it's just a pretty large molecule, and the way that it is absorbed and metabolized, it ends up really just like going into the intestines and the colon.
Okay.
Uh,
So it's not
so,
getting through those glands.
yeah.
Neat. And I also have been studying up on the fact that babies will learn flavor in the womb, and it
Hmm.
influences their flavor profiles when they're born. So I
Yeah,
would imagine that feeding your babies mushrooms when you're pregnant will increase their desire to have mushrooms as a child.
perhaps. Maybe your mother didn't eat enough
I
mushrooms.
know, that's what I'm thinking. What on earth? I got the cookie diet, I think. Well, I like my
Yeah.
vegetables, so that's good. But so reishi, and then what about on the dude side? What about on the papa bears? Maybe
Yeah.
is cordyceps a mushroom that might help with testosterone?
Yeah. Cordyceps might help with testosterone. Maybe.
Okay,
There's yeah, in some animal models, like in mouse models, it does slightly increase testosterone, helps with sperm quality for
okay.
sure. Um,
And turkey
and
tail? I was
so
looking up some studies.
yeah, I have not seen anything about turkey tail helping with testosterone levels in human men. But mushrooms like enoki, actually, which is another edible, so enokataki, that mushroom study was just published recently that actually helps to increase testosterone levels in aging men who have lower testosterone. So
Okay.
enoki would be a good option. It was 1,200 milligrams of enoki powdered extract had that impact. Mushrooms that are high in ergothioneine, again, are going to be really helpful, especially for protecting against DNA fragmentation. So any kind of, yeah, so eating a lot of oyster mushroom or taking oyster or maitake or shiitake also has a lot of ergothioneine. You want all of those, that antioxidant properties to really mitigate oxidative stress that can damage sperm DNA would be kind of the biggest thing that I would focus on for
Okay, so
men.
really supporting antioxidation. And
Yes,
that's what these mushrooms can do to help the sperms reduce their fragmentation and DNA breaking down.
exactly, which will
Okay,
in turn, yeah, improve sperm quality and fertility.
right.
Um, and for for women, what I didn't mention about reishi that can be helpful, especially for women with PCOS, and that tends to be like the population that has the largest difficulty with fertility.
Right. Yeah, you brought that
Um,
up. Polycystic ovarian syndrome, you brought that up a couple times. Is that plaguing our women right now?
yes,
It is.
absolutely,
Really?
absolutely, yeah.
Why? Can you share a little bit on why that is increasing right now?
Uh, yeah, I think it's a
Speculating?
number of factors. Yeah, so I mean, endocrine disruptors in our environment.
Wow.
So the
Okay.
plastics that we're
Shh.
taking into our body on a regular basis,
Mm-hmm.
fragrances. So any product that you're putting on your body or that is in a candle that says fragrance, so synthetic fragrance, unless it says pure essential oil, that's going to be having a negative impact on your endocrine system. Um, any kind of like nonstick cookware is going to have a negative impact on your endocrine system. And then there's like xenoestrogens in our environment. So these are molecules that look similar to estrogen and act like inflammatory estrogens in the body. Another big reason for PCOS as well is that there's a lot more insulin resistance in the population. So, just people aren't eating very well, and there's a lot more food choices, which makes it difficult to make food choices. And if you're consuming a lot of sugar, your cells are going to stop responding to insulin in a healthy way, and so you develop insulin resistance. And the more insulin there is in the system, that can actually drive higher testosterone levels. And those high testosterone levels are one of the main characteristics of PCOS, as well as
Mm.
insulin resistance. Those high testosterone levels are going to, um, they're going to inhibit your ovaries from making, progesterone and estrogen. And so then you're not going to ovulate, which is another main characteristic of PCOS. So I think it's a mixture of diet and environmental factors. And then there is some genetic component, but and then there's also kind of this kind of PCOS that can come from, like, if you were going through something really stressful at the time of menarche. So when you first started having your period, um, if there was some kind of adverse childhood event going on at that time, like divorce, or um, if there was anything unhealthy happening in the home, if a parent died, you felt unsafe, whatever, that can actually have a long-term impact on your hormonal health, and you can develop like kind of a stress, adrenal specific kind of PCOS. Yeah. And so
Wow. So women today really have to take into consideration so many factors.
yeah.
I mean, different factors than maybe 500 years ago, but still. Um,
Absolutely. And it's like with those endocrine disruptors, like, I mean, I give all of my patients an endocrine disruptor checklist, and I also tell them it is absolutely impossible to avoid these completely, because it's like, you can have your reverse osmosis water filter and maybe you're not getting microplastics in your water, but just like breathing the air outside,
I know.
it's just kind of everywhere. It's like picking up a receipt from the grocery store, you're getting some. So it can really make somebody crazy.
It really can. Like everywhere we look, when you're sitting on an airplane with the soaps and the chemicals are spraying in the air, and then you're right, like the receipts, when people touch those, there's endocrine disruptor chemicals on those. It is everywhere. So people really need to work on their detoxification as well. Are mushrooms good for that?
Yes.
For liver detoxification, maybe supporting the kidneys, for flushing out things?
Yes. Yes. And especially, so yeah, I feel like reishi really is like the star mushroom. It's called the mushroom of immortality for a reason.
It is. I was going to ask you that question. Like, do you have a favorite? Is there like a queen or a king of the mushroom world? And reishi, is it?
Reishi is just amazing.
Reishi.
Yeah, reishi really, helps with detoxification processes. Reishi also can actually inhibit an enzyme that turns testosterone into this more potent testosterone called dihydrotestosterone. And so for some women who have PCOS and high androgens or high testosterone levels, reishi can also, be helpful there. And then, back to the gut microbiome for a second. It's like a healthy gut microbiome is essential for estrogen detoxification and getting rid of those estrogens from the environment. And so I just can't emphasize enough like the importance of having a healthy digestive system.
Yeah, can you talk, Dr. Sitkoff, on the difference between estrogen dominance and what was I going to say? Natural, just the different imbalances that we have with estrogen.
Yeah. So along with PCOS, one of the biggest hormonal imbalances I see is estrogen dominance. And so what that means is that this is like during your mid-luteal phase is when we check hormone levels, when we check estrogen and progesterone. And that means the second half of the menstrual cycle, like right in the middle of that, about 7 days after ovulation, when estrogen and progesterone are at their highest. That's when we want to check. And we look at the ratio between estrogen and progesterone because that balance is essential for a healthy ovulatory cycle. And if you're experiencing things like PMS or a lot of menstrual cramps, really heavy bleeding, endometriosis, fibroids, like all of that is indicative of there being either way too much estrogen or normal estrogen levels and not enough progesterone to balance out the estrogen.
Right. And can you share with people how progesterone makes you feel happy compared to too much estrogen? or
Yeah.
the PMS part that
Well,
comes into play?
yeah. So when you don't have enough progesterone to balance the estrogen, you're going to feel really, a lot of anxiety and agitation.
Mm-hmm.
Progesterone is like a neurohormone that is also like GABAergic, so it's very calming. It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like a warm hug hormone. And
Mm-hmm.
I will say about 1/3 of women really do not respond well to progesterone. So
Interesting. It's too cuddly for them, huh?
it's too cuddly. Some people have a progesterone sensitivity,
Huh.
but um, for the most part, you really want that anxiolytic progesterone to balance out the estrogen. I mean, it's also just important for, you know, if you have too much estrogen and not enough progesterone, that can also lead to things like endometrial cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So, progesterone is really important there as well. But as far as mood regulation goes, it's so important. And so, with any kind of treatment plan where we're trying to balance the hormones, especially for conditions like PMS or PMDD, I always I always check the estrogen and progesterone to see if, is it the progesterone that we need to increase and estrogen is fine?
Mm-hmm.
Or do we need to detox this excess estrogen and figure out where all this excess estrogen is coming from? Because some
Right.
of the time, people have totally normal estrogen levels, but their progesterone's in the tank.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Or they're have too much testosterone.
Yeah.
And then the pregnenolone steal, that's a thing too, right? Where the hormones are getting shunted to cortisol
The
production instead of
cortisol. Uh-huh.
testosterone. But that's like another thing. What about teens? I keep thinking about teenage girls and all of their
Yeah.
mental health issues. It
Yeah.
just makes me cry. I have a lot of people I know in the world, and I know the world's a stressful place. Are there herbs and mushrooms for those teen girls so we can set them up on a path of success? So when they do want to have children, they're feeling vibrant and confident and strong in their bodies?
Yes, absolutely. And it makes me so sad that a lot of those girls are just being put on birth control and then
Yes,
kind of
right?
sent on their way. And it's such a sensitive time for this
Yes.
system that I feel like I love it when a teenage girl walks into my office and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can change somebody's life right at the start.
Right.
It's not like,
Too
somebody who's
late.
been on birth control for 20 years and I'm just like, oh no. Yeah. But yeah, again, like I think reishi mushroom can be very helpful there. Like
Okay.
especially teenage girls, like that time in your life is so transformative. And I really think about mushrooms like on this energetic level that,
Mm.
I always call mushrooms the doulas of nature. And
Oh, really?
in that way, they can really
Oh.
help ground us through transformative experiences. Because, yeah, in nature, and think about like mushrooms are playing such a vital role in death and rebirth of the forest.
Hmm.
And so, for humans, it's like we talked about psilocybe mushrooms and psilocybin playing a really important role for some people through their dying experience and coming to terms with death. And then also, as we talked about like reishi babies and like how
Mm-hmm.
important mushrooms can be for new life and birth and postpartum health. And then, yeah, it's like going through puberty and dealing with being a teenage girl and just like all of that. I think that, yeah, reishi mushroom especially can just be really, really helpful for people.
This is terrific. So how do you take reishi, by the way? Is that in a capsule? Do you cook with it? Is it a tincture?
All of the above. If you're taking it as a capsule, you should look for a powdered mushroom extract. And then either, sometimes it'll say like the ratio of the extract, even just like a 1-to-1 ratio would be fine. But you really want it to be the mushroom, not the mycelium.
Okay.
Um, and then as a tea, you would get either, you could use like a whole reishi mushroom that you get from a herb shop, apothecary or something, or you could do reishi slices and just put it in a crock pot or an Instapot and decoct it or boil it in water for at least a few hours, and then you get a really nice strong reishi tea. And then you can use that broth for cooking. You can use that broth for soups or even like cooking rice or grains or whatever, so that then everything you're cooking is medicinal, or you can cook your oatmeal in it and you have medicinal oatmeal.
This is great. This is like a gateway food, I think, guys. So I think everyone's going to be running to their health food stores right now.
Yeah, perfect.
This is so great. Dr. Anna, Dr. Sitkoff, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
And turning us on. Where can people find you? Tell us your website. We only have a few seconds left, so.
Oh, yep. DrAnnaSitkoff.com or lucidumedicinals.com. And I'm on Instagram as at Dr. Anna Sitkoff.
Okay, so we can buy our supplements from you.
Yes.
You're a formulator. All right, so everyone head on over to Dr. Anna Sitkoff's website. And I hope everybody really begins to incorporate medicinal mushrooms and culinary mushrooms into their diets for long-lasting health and longevity, and for some really good healing experiences too. Right? Well, thank you so much, Dr. Anna.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. All right, thanks, everybody. This is Jill Trotterman with Feeding the Family signing out. Peace and love, everybody.